My name is Susanne Gilby and I'm a counselor at NeurAlive. I work with youth 16 plus and adults, and I specialize in working with trauma, anxiety, depression, various mental health disorders, including borderline personality disorder, and I have a long history of working with career transitions. I make use of an eclectic approach, which includes DBT, which is dialectical behavior therapy, EMDR, which is eye movement, desensitization and reprocessing, as well as expressive movement, and I also integrate somatic practices throughout all of the work that I do. With expressive movement, it's about getting in contact with our intuitive selves, or that unconscious or subconscious part of ourselves which doesn't feel like it has a voice and is able to speak all the time, or might be afraid to speak for whatever reason that might be. It's allowing ourselves to get in contact with our true selves and who we are and our inside. And movement, it doesn't have to be anything big. It can be anything from just moving a pinky finger to being larger movements. It can be pounding your fists down on the ground in anger if that's what comes up for the person. It's going with whatever the person feels intuitively compelled to, based on what they're feeling in that moment. It's understandable that people might feel a lot of apprehension regarding moving in a space while being watched or in front of somebody else, and that's perfectly normal. But there's also a lot that can be said about allowing oneself to be seen, because that's something that a lot of us don't get to feel in life. And being seen through something like expressive movement, I believe, is the deepest form of being heard and being seen. And it can allow one to let go of a lot of what might be holding you back when it comes to being a whole person. Dance movement can be a very good therapeutic intervention for a lot of challenges. It can be helpful for trauma, it can be helpful for anxiety, self-esteem issues, helping with self-confidence. And being in a group can go such a long way in helping an individual also not feel alone and have a shared experience in which they can connect with others who are going through similar circumstances. That in itself can be powerful. Somatic basically means it's about the body, right? And its primary mission is to reintegrate the mind back into the body. It was originally created by Peter Levine. He was one of the first somatic therapists, and it's based on how animals have very specific fear responses. But animals will go through their fear response, whether it's shaking and trembling, running away. They basically shake it off and then they get on with their lives. Humans, we hang on to trauma. It's basically held in the body. And the idea behind somatic therapy is to unlock that trauma out of the body in order to help reintegrate the self and reconnect the mind and the body with each other. So very similar to dance movements. They come from the exact same roots. And why I integrate it into pretty much all the work that I do is because it's very good at regulating the central nervous system, which often when people come into sessions, they're going to be so in their head, whether they're feeling anxious or dissociated, and they're maybe really amped up when they come into the counseling space. And the somatic works helps to re-regulate them, which allow them to connect much more closely with what's really truly going on within themselves. I may start out a session with having the individual just connect with what's going on in their body in that moment, just to see where their central nervous system is at, so that we can gauge if they might need to be upregulated a little bit due to hypoarousal, or if they need to be downregulated due to being in a hyper-aroused state, so that once we start getting into the deeper therapy, they're not going to be feeling as triggered necessarily, or they might feel a little bit more energy and have more access to what's going on within themselves. EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and it's a intervention used to help with processing trauma. Somatic work and EMDR actually integrate really well with each other, particularly in the initial stages of EMDR. when we're preparing individuals to actually do the processing, and there's a lot of potential re-regulation of the nervous system that needs to happen. So the somatic work can be brought in there, but it also can be brought in throughout the processing as we're tracking the individuals as they're connecting with what can often be really triggering content. One can certainly understand individuals being concerned about reconnecting with the traumas that have come up in their lives because it can be so triggering within the body and can cause individuals to even dissociate. With EMDR, the therapist is going to be very, very mindful about not wanting to trigger such a strong response in the person. So it's regarding how the person's going to respond and what might feel like the gentlest window into accessing that kind of content. DBT was created by Marshall Linehan, and it was basically a modification of CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy. But it deals with an aspect that CBT doesn't really delve into. So CBT is very much into the thoughts that come up within people's minds, which then impact our behaviors and our emotions. DBT, on the other hand, which was originally created for individuals with borderline personality disorder, is really about emotional regulation. So how can one better regulate the strong emotions that might be coming up for them, and then also how to more effectively be around other people in an interpersonal manner as well. I hope this video has been very helpful and insightful for you, and feel free to reach out if you think counseling might be a good fit for you.